Hello and welcome. We actually lost one guy, I see now when I press the button, but he might join in. We are now at the second week in the IoT course, and I must say it's been so fantastic to follow along so far. I'm super impressed. So let's see. There are more people here that wants to join in. So hello. Yeah. So let's start with the agenda. So you will have to introduce yourself in just as a moment, Jim. Everyone else is known here, and I think you are also.
I think so too. Yes.
Yeah, but I haven't seen you online just yet. So, um, but the plan here is to just have first a very quick recap of what we have done this week, and then we're going to talk a little bit of what's happening next week, and then pick up on all these extras, everything that is condensed through all the interactions that we've had with each other. And I would say, when I say with each other, it is actually David and Alessandro in this case that will represent all the fantastic TAs that actually have the most interaction. We have now, at least according to our bot and also in Canvas, it's a little bit hard to know always, but we think that we have about 230 students that are active, more or less. So I can just say that this is the biggest course so far in history. As it's only been 4 years, the history isn't that long, but still, it's so great to see. And when we started this course from the early beginning, and someone is not muted, so maybe I will mute. I will mute you that doesn't speak, and then we can unmute when we speak. But so far, it's actually, I'm just been waiting for the day when we can see a decline in like people wanted to be interested in this kind of area, IoT. But maybe we haven't reached the top yet. And I can just say that I'm so happy to see that there are so many people that at least give the impression that they're enjoying their time very, very much. So I think one guy said that this is the grown-up version of the Swedish television show Hike, which which actually has been at least part of our history. Jim and I can relate, I think. Maybe David can't, or Alessandro and Neda, but Jim and I, we can relate to the old TV show Hike. You did a lot of like this summer fancy stuff. You built stuff and not electronics, but submarines and whatever. And in some way, that's also the kind of feeling that we also appreciate in the course. Because if it is fun, you learn better. It's that simple. So why not try to have fun while we learn? If you haven't still gotten your student ID role, please write your student ID. If you're not sure on how to do that, check on the 200-ish students that have already done it and try to find the same student acronym. And it's actually the first part of LNU ID. I'm not sure if we probably haven't told anyone exactly how to do this, but people figure it out by just watching how others do it. So
yeah, I think you have a post in the beginning of the in the channel that
way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that could have been like more clear, but I'm not sure if it's needed because 99% of everyone has actually figured it out. So but just write it there, and if you still have problems with registration, LADOC, or whatever, still there is a possibility for fixing these kind of things. It's like if you have missed to register on LADOC, and if you have like been automatically cancelled out by the system, because that will happen if you don't register at LADOC, it can manually be fixed by a student administrator. And I have written the emails in the course announcement channel, and it's Mikael Dag. If you want to do the administration stuff, send him an email and just ask for forgiveness, and he will help you out. If you have problems with Canvas, I don't think there are any more people, but if you happen to have problems with Canvas, there is yet another email for the Canvas administrator called Brian Catania. Email him directly and just ask, because I can't actually put people on board Canvas. It's actually, you might think that I have that power, but I don't. I can only do whatever is in already. If you're already onboarded, then I can sort of do things, but not otherwise. Maybe we should just mention some things about the quizzes. These are totally 100% my fault. There have been some quiz questions that might have been like actually plain wrong. At least one of them was. I think it was a question for a Python.
If it was string concatenation, or no, it was the set and
the set. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Which should have curly brackets, and in the choices it wasn't. So it was a bracket, I think, another paragraph. And actually, when you think about it, this same quiz question about the Python basics, it's been the same question it's the 4th year we run the course. So we have had hundreds and hundreds of students, probably a total of 1,000 students so far that have done this exact question, and it's been wrong all the time. So I would say big kudos to you that actually that have actually mentioned this, because none of the other student cohorts have done it. They have probably just learned wrong or just clicked in random. I don't know. But that's great. So if you think that there is something that you don't understand or something that you think is plain wrong, please just drop it. You can send me an email, of course, if you don't want to speak it out loud. But I actually prefer if we scrutinize everything in the course in a public forum. So if there is anything that you want to be better, just write it in the course feedback channel. Tag me or anyone else that you think should know it, and we can do it. And there has been also some questions about the number of tries on the quizzes. Yes, you have unlimited tries. You can try them out as many times as you like. If you get 60%, you have a pass on the quiz. And there will be no difference if you have 60% or 100% regarding the final grade. So the quizzes are just a pass or a fail. That's all. And you can do them an unlimited amount of times. Obviously, you can't do them unlimited amount of times because you won't have time. But the point is that there is no limit from the system, at least. So they are more of a way for, as I said before, to be active in the course. We want to pick up certain things that keeps you active on a weekly basis. And it's also a really good indication from our end of how many students that actually are active, because doing the quizzes will show up in the list. So that has been a little bit about the quizzes. Now we go on to the workshops. And then I think David or Alessandro, you could probably mention a couple of things here.
Do you want to go, David?
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm currently in a car dealer shop, so
if you want, I can take care of
ambient sound around me. So if the sound is horrible, just let me know. But yeah, we've had this was the 2nd week, so we've so far we were supposed to be done with part 2. And we have the votes later on. We'll go through them. But so far, I think most of the students managed to read sensor values and in some way also connect the device, either using Wi-Fi or LoRaWAN. I know from the experience that we've had the past workshops regarding LoRaWAN is that many students didn't actually have coverage. So yeah, but a few had, and then we went through it. But anyways, I think most of the students are done with part 2, so connectivity. We still have some students. If we just go down now, I'm jumping over a couple of bullet points, but if we see the votes, how many that were actually how many that are actually done with quiz one is not quiz one, sorry. Part one is the majority. And then we see part two, more than half of the students that actually responded. This is, you can see that these are not all the students. But yeah, this is the current status at the moment.
And I must say that we've also gotten course feedback on this, but last year we did like we actually sent out a survey during Canvas, through Canvas for a couple of these things that we wanted to keep track on how many people were finished with that part, etc., etc. And we have also used Mentimeter. I think you did that last year. This is by far the most easiest and I think best way to do it. Thumbs up or thumbs down in the Discord server. And obviously people have given, I saw that someone gave a feedback on that this was a really good system. So really nice. We're trying out things all the time.
Yeah, we just need to get everyone to actually respond, because we can see how the number of responses is declining.
Yeah. It's a bit worrying, isn't it? No, but that's usually how it is. Like, I don't think we need to be that worried. You always see that there is a lot of people doing the first parts, and then people drop off, and then in the end, like everyone sort of gathers and thinks that, like, okay, it's now time to do everything. So I think generally that's just people will do it in the end. So
I think it has also to do with the fact that this year, compared to the previous years, I've seen a higher amount of students that actually are more independent, even from the TAs, and actually come for more confirmation than for actual guidance from the very beginning. Like, you can see that they're more invested into achieving all of their, like I don't know how can I say, all of their project's abilities on their own, and they're very capable also. So I'm not sure if it is that we did a good job or that perhaps it's much easier to use the PPCO compared to the other boards, but they actually managed to do like a lot of successful projects already. Many of them are even already attempting to do some parts of the presentation part, which have not even addressed yet. So moving even ahead of us.
That's great, and it's super that you go ahead of the material. You should do that if you think that you're on the next step already. Just do it. Don't just wait out. Maybe we should mention something about higher grades, because there has been a little bit fuss about that, and people have been writing since the very beginning in the higher grade channel. So do we want to say something about that?
Yeah, we talk together, and then we're gonna have, and also we mentioned this in the beginning, that we're gonna have in the beginning of the third week, we're gonna have this schedule system, so where students can book slots and then discuss their projects or project ideas with a TA. And I think it's we actually all think that it's a good time to start talking about this, because if we would do this earlier on, then most of the students wouldn't have had the chance to actually try to get familiar with the hardware, for example. And but now, since they have done the basics, now they can start thinking of maybe what to build, and perhaps also how much effort it would take.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very easy to think of something that may be ambiguous in the end.
Exactly. And also what we could mention here is that the formalities here is that it will most likely be a Google Drive document, right, that you will distribute, or
Yeah,
I think
we
we've
haven't
done
decided yet.
No.
Yet, I think, Alessandro, last year we had an Excel sheet. Yes.
Yes, we had an Excel sheet with timestamps and everything. Like, we would actually say from this hour to this hour, we'll have a schedule with this specific person, and we will give them something like 20 minutes, if I remember correctly, and then they could rebook again if needed. So yeah, that was pretty much the plan. It worked very well. I think all the TAs approved of it. It was the easiest way, because last year we had a lot of chaos in the final parts of the actual course. But this year, for now, it's going really well. So if we manage to apply the same procedure again, I think it will work well.
Yeah. And there is one point here that weekend and evening workshops with specific TAs. So you want to give some input on that?
Okay, we actually have some TAs that have that have actually proposed themselves to be available either in the afternoon of very specific days of the week or directly in the weekend. Since these are outside the normal workshop hours, it will be the TAs themselves that will come and propose them to the student community. They will usually either ping them or just write something in chat. So be very attentive on when you see that message and when you see them online. Generally speaking, from last year's, I will say this: try to not ping TA like saying outside of hours, oh, please come online. Like, ask if it's required, and we will most likely join. But do keep in mind that that is extra hours. So
Yeah.
there is just no obligement. It's like we will happily join. Most likely somebody will join indeed. Just be a bit mindful about the fact that those are not official hours in the that we had already established.
Yeah, that's great. And also the message here to all the students is that we do have a flexibility. So if you ask something, and you have seen that, I think many times now, that if you point out something out that you want, like, could we do in this way instead? Yeah, we might do it that way. And if you think that, like, okay, there is not that many people showing up on the workshop at that specific time of day, then we will actually adapt. That's just a message to you out there, that if you think that something should be changed, we will definitely try to adapt. So that means that if we want to put workshops in, I would say, on a Saturday, and if it works, I'm just saying, I don't want to put pressure on someone, but if it works, then we might do it. So it's the course is for you, like, it's not for us. Okay, let's go. And high pace, we know. I think that there has been some comments about that it is a high pace course, and I just want to point that out once again. It might be worth saying many times. Yes, we are running this course full time. I know that there are some students that are doing other stuff, not only doing this course. You might be doing yet another course at the university, and you think it's a little bit too much. But yes, the course is full time, so you will sort of have to adapt. But you also have a good opportunity to be very flexible. We try to do it so you could have a daytime job and still do the course, as I would see it. It wouldn't be a problem. And the number of hours and messages. This is also always interesting. There is someone called Per Automatik here that is leading.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is actually.
It's one of our students.
Yeah.
Like, without giving too many details, his name is Christopher. And yep, we see you. We see you online. Don't worry.
But it's interesting to see that there is 195 hours in the silent work channel. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's actually something that I think we created out of a whim, because somebody, I just asked for it, like, oh, is there such a place where we can be together but muted? Like, I'm a foreigner, I'm not even Swedish, so to me that concept sounded extremely alien, but it was actually something extremely successful. Okay, sure, why not? It cost us nothing, and if it can make you feel better, that's great.
The silent hour, that wouldn't have worked in Italy, or
No.
So
I can very confidently say that would have never worked. But yes.
Yeah, okay, it's the Swedish way in that case. Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah. But and you can see that, I mean, this might be, there are some channels that are not open for you, but just to point that out, like, the most used channel is the workshop admin channel. Like, we look at the number of messages the TAs are sending to each other in that channel. It's astounding. So what you see in the server as a public person, as a student, there is a lot of stuff happening in between, like in the planning. And so when you're handing off students and like planning the workshops, it's a lot of stuff that is happening behind the scenes, so to say. So it's actually quite interesting to see. Yes, maybe we should very quickly give a recap of it says the first week lectures. It should be the second week lectures, but yeah, this week lectures. So Nedam, you might want to just give what has happened this week in terms of.
Yes, hello everyone. This week that we talked about LoRaWAN, and it's let me find my here. LoRaWAN and LoRa, and what is the network architecture in LoRaWAN, and what is the LoRaWAN protocol specification, like the messages, the type of messages that we have, like the I'm trying to find like the security keys and the device classes that we have. There are classes A, B, and C, and like the device activation and authentication, and the concept about a spreading factor and a LoRaWAN limitation. Also, I talked about LoRaWAN network coverage and the LoRaWAN network servers, like the Things network (TTN), and how we implement it. So it was whole about the lecture 7. But next week we will have a lecture about visualization dashboards, and I will cover it in the dashboard. It's like using LoRaWAN and webhooks, and they are connecting to the data cake. So we will follow this path for the next week. But I'm sure TAs are offering other paths that exist, and they can easily follow the others. But I will keep one of them.
Yeah, we will sort of give like a standard, as we have the same with hardware. We have a standard set of hardware. We have like everyone is probably used to the DHT11 sensor, but I mean, that's not the only one. There are quite many out there, and such and such. The same thing with platforms. So we will give like a recommendation, like try this out. It's easy to get started, and you will get your hands on a lot of different things. But especially for the AB projects, like obviously you should probably explore something on your own, something that is maybe not in the lecture material. That's a good point for AB projects. And the same thing, you could actually find a lot of other platforms. We have had a lot of students last year that have done Adafruit projects. I think Arduino has a pretty decent IoT platform nowadays, which also could be used even though you're using MicroPython. There are so many platforms out there. So you could actually go in and Google IoT platform, and you will probably get 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe hits on different platforms. And more or less every one of them has like 1 or 5 or something devices for free. So you don't very seldom need to pay anything for try something out or have 1 or 2 or 3 devices. So I'm just saying that you should do some exploring, but we will give it like also like a recommended path. So the more exploring you do, the more fun it will be. That's from our end, I would say. And we now time for ElectroKit. So Jim, maybe give an introduction of yourself. Maybe people don't know who you are.
I am Jim. I work at ElectroKit in sales, and I have been with this course for all the 4 years. And I guess it started with Frederick contacting us and asking if we wanted to supply products for him. And we took it from there. And it's been really, really exciting. Every year, we make these kits. We plan them together with the Frederick and the TAs, and every year there is the time constraint, and there is always minor things that needs to be fixed, and it's pretty fun. Um, and this year has been extra crazy because it has been we have gotten more orders than we expected by quite a long shot, actually. So every time I go to the warehouse today, and I have to go through the warehouse to get to my office, everyone just looks at me and breathes in. And are we going to make more kits today? And the answer is usually yes.
Yeah, but I
But,
mean, you have I think with 277, was it, like, kits that you has there been any more since the last week, or
oh yeah,
so it's still people are still buying the kits, or
yes, yes.
okay. Oh,
So I think we've made something like 295 or 290, somewhere between that, and I believe we have one left in stock, because we make smaller and smaller series, of course, and the we have made some changes to the 25 module package because we were behind on that one. So all the 25 module packages are being sent right now. And you may notice a couple of minor switches in some of the harder to get modules.
yeah.
We have been doing this for especially the tilt sensor. For some reason, it's surprisingly hard to get.
Yeah. And I can just point out, because I mean, there is not that many, I would say, university courses that you actually have this close collaboration with the company. And when
Oh.
we started this course, like the first year, like this was 4 years ago, we started thinking about how are we going to get hardware to all the people that have applied for this course. We were like starting to plan that maybe we should buy a lot of stuff, and then we need to have a TA that sort of packs all this in bags and sends them away to all students. But it's actually not possible for a university to do that. Well, for one thing, it's really hard with actually payment and those things, and then also keeping support on things that doesn't work, and then all the time. So having a collaboration with the company in this sense, it's really like a really good match, I would say. So,
And
yeah,
I like it too. It's really fun to follow the Discord, and I will repeat myself. Don't be afraid to remind me if I miss any of your messages, because there are a lot of messages,
yeah,
and I try to be as helpful as possible. But I also know that Discord is it's not an issue management system, so you may miss them. But yeah, and as you said, I remember we talked about this in the beginning. You buying all the kits or making the kits yourself and then distributing them, which is fine, of course, but we have the infrastructure,
yeah,
and we have the possibility to fix problems if we encounter them, and we have encountered some problems this year. And it's also great for us because if someone say they have a faulty board, so and especially if you're a complete beginner, we want to make sure that it's a faulty board, of course, before we send out a new one. So there is a couple of things and steps that we can do, but in this course it's great because I know that if a TA says that the board is faulty, then it is faulty. You have made all the necessary steps, and I'll just send it out immediately. And it saves a lot of time for us, and it saves especially for the students. They
yeah.
can get their things immediately.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's nice. We actually got a request here. I put it on the, you can see, just make a special kit containing soldering iron and headerless board to save time. There's probably a bunch of people that wants experience in that as well. So,
Sure. I'll talk to my colleagues. So this is actually a brilliant suggestion. A soldering iron and a breadboard is a good a combo. But it also touches on the fun challenge of making a kit, because you need to decide which soldering iron, which breadboard, and do you need anything more. We do have soldering iron kits ready, but without the breadboard.
Yeah, maybe that
Also-
could be if maybe you have an idea already, and then you could try the idea out in this server now and see if people are interested. But I think that's a good idea, and we probably won't in the future either, like cover too much about soldering, because I think it's quite much anyhow, just when you have like it's pre-soldered already. So if we're going to but I know that a lot of students are interested in that. And the next step of any IoT journey, if you're going to, you will end up soldering. You like some part of the journey, you will end up soldering. You can't really get away from that. So,
but yeah,
yes,
and I think that's it. And I want to say thank you to everyone. This is really fun for us. It is. It's a lot of work, but it's also quite fun. And we also know that a lot of your students become permanent customers or long-time customers. I do have one guy that I still I can't say his name because of our policy, of course, but he's from the first year, and now we talk. I mean, a few times a year at least, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
So we do see that a lot of students, they stay in the electronics business as well, and that's fun to see.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I just want to say thank you. And
yeah, and we want to say thank you as well. I think that I've also said that in the server. So, but
it was appreciated very much.
So next week, we maybe we should mention something about the roadmap for next week. David, Alessandro, do you have anything?
Yeah, but since we're starting with the higher grades discussion, perhaps Frederick, you could just clarify and elaborate a little on, what it takes to actually pass the course and what it takes to get higher grades.
Yeah. So
just very briefly.
Yes, I could do that. The thing here is that I won't actually say too much now, because I might contradict myself if I just like take it on a volley. But I did speak quite, I would say, as detailed as possible in the study guide. So please have a look at that one. And if I say something that contradicts that now, the study guide still holds. So, but essentially, if you're going to pass the course, you need to put a sensor value on the internet. That's more or less it. So I would say that like the very, very basic line of passing the course, it could be a DHT11 sensor. You have your breadboard. There are wires all over the place. It's like a very, very early prototype. You have written maybe it's not about an amount of code, but it could be quite simple code, I would say. Maybe 30 lines of Python code. You're transmitting this to maybe data cake, and then you can look at your temperature at data cake, and you've built your dashboard. If you've done that, then that is actually good enough for a basic, very, very basic project. It doesn't need to be more than that to pass. Obviously, you will need to do the quizzes, yes, and you will need to hand in a report. The report, like the specifics on how to write your report, that will come next week. But if you're interested in how it could look like, check in last year's recording, and it will be very much the same this year. So if you're like, okay, I want to know it already, then you can check out last year's playlist, and you will see like a tutorial template guide. It will be very much alike this year. If you want to go for a higher grade, then you will actually have a discussion with the TAs. So, but essentially, you will need to do something that is a little bit more advanced. it's not actually about the number of sensors. So you could still have one single sensor, send it to some place, but if you maybe you set up your own stack, that is considered to be more advanced. If you, well, what I know, include some algorithm that does some fancy thing, maybe you have some machine learning included, or I don't know. It could be a lot of things, but if you take yet another complexity level, or you could also just put a lot of sensors in your device. So instead of having one sensor, you have like 5, and then you visualize them. That could also be considered as more complex. So what I'm saying is that actually it's not, you don't need to put in that much in to get a pass on the course. I hope that clarifies it a little bit, but yes, you will need to transmit something over the internet. And when I say the internet, it might be the local network. It's a little bit confusing, I know, but you obviously you can send it to your own server in your own home network if you have a Raspberry Pi or running Home Assistant or whatever. That's fine, but you need to transmit data. That's really like the core. Some kind of sensor value, and the sensor could be a button, yes. Even though you might not consider that as a sensor, but yes, a button could be considered as a sensor. But if
And just adding to what you just said is that because we're gonna soon talk about the next week's roadmap, and then you're gonna see that we have a number of options. Also, when going for the higher grades, maybe don't expect everything to be written down in a tutorial in detail. So, for example, setting up a Mosquito server, like an MQTT broker, we may give you some just pointers on where to go, how, like what to think about. But other than that, it's for us, it's both time consuming and also, yeah, if we give you like a tutorial of what to do, then it's for you, it's basically just following something and maybe not, not understanding every single step. But compared to if you would go and look for this information yourself, then you would actually be learning way more than just by doing things by following a tutorial.
Exactly. So I would say that the basics of the course, that might be more tutorial. You will get more, and when you go to a more complex level, you might be a little bit more on your own, and that's really the point as well. So yes, let's continue. And next week, there will be a lot of things happening next week. Obviously, there will be new lectures, new workshops. We'll talk about visualization, as Neda just recently said. But we also have this 12-hour event, and this is a very special thing. I've already talked about it, I think, last week, but we will have a 12-hour live stream. So we'll start at Wednesday next week, the 21st of June, 9 in the morning, and we'll end 9 in the evening. During that day, you can follow along on YouTube all day. If you want to join us, if you are in Kalmar, just say, and you're more than welcome to join us. We will do some interesting project in the lab. Actually, I did order a lot of stuff today. Hopefully they will arrive. And I also know that Jim might send a surprise box. Yeah. So there might be things happening. We will also, between 10 and 12 on Wednesday the next week, there will be the 3D printing workshop. So I will put that in the schedule, because that part is, the whole day is sort of just voluntary. You don't need to follow anything. So if you just skip out that 12-hour live stream, well, fine. We do it because it's fun, and because we want to create some extra in the course. But don't think that you need to spend 12 hours watching YouTube. Absolutely not. It's not that. But the only thing that you will need to spend is 2 hours. So between 10 and 12, which will be in the planning very soon, then we will have the 3D printing workshop. So then you will learn about 3D printing. We will do a couple of prints. We will design a couple of things. We will talk about the different parts of the 3D printer, what types of 3D printers there are, and some of the fundamentals of 3D printing. We don't require you to buy a 3D printer in this course, but in the world of IoT, a 3D printer is, I think, quite a very, very good tool. The same thing as a soldering iron. Well, it's quite nice to know about these things. And when I think about it, maybe we should have a soldering workshop as well. But let's see if we can fit that into the schedule. But that could also be some, David, if you can have a soldering workshop in.
Yeah,
Maybe
we can, yes.
But that will happen next week. So if you want to spend a full day on YouTube, well, then this is the day. And there are more information, and we will distribute a little bit more concrete time slots of what is happening very soon. I already said that it's so nice to see the projects, especially, this coffee machine that one guy shared, and he was like, other people could control this coffee machine, and he just gave the access on that Telegram bot. It's so nice to see these things, and so just keep that going. It should be fun. And something that might be worth mentioning is that Discord is a bit challenging in terms of that there are so many messages, and there might be that you're spammed by notifications. We didn't cover that in the Discord introduction video, not at least in detail, but you are able to tweak your notifications. So by, I think, right-clicking on the server, I need to check now.
Yeah, or the channel.
Server or channel, yeah.
Yeah, you can tweak the notification settings.
So if you want to, or you could also, you said, David, that you could also go in a do not disturb mode, or...
Yeah, so if you want to do this globally, you can just put your status to busy, and then all the pings, you won't actually be getting pop-ups. But once you open Discord again, you'll see red circles with the number of pings that or tags that people have tagged you. So, and that works for me, but maybe not work for everyone.
Yeah, and also don't be stressed out that you haven't read everything. So you don't necessarily need to go in and read every message of every channel in the Discord. It's not supposed to be that way. So if you want to interact, if you want to do that, absolutely, you should maybe spend your time and read up and interact. But if you go into the server and you have hundreds of messages unread, don't feel stressed. You could sort of just ignore them and then start off from where you are at. Start with the question and then continue. And I think you also can right click and then just said that you've read everything, even if you haven't. So
yeah, just make sure to follow course announcements and then important links. That would do it. That would be more than enough. Yeah,
exactly. I will actually, there will be more lectures very soon. Also, like Neda, you will talk about visualization, but we will have a mesh networking lecture. We will also have some guest lectures, which will be maybe next week and maybe the week after. So we will put up some more abstract level of IoT for the upcoming weeks as well. And I will actually make, I have an idea of a lecture, ChatGPT lecture. So I'm going to do that as soon as I get time on my hands and record that from the IoT development perspective using ChatGPT as an assistant. I think that might be actually quite good if you haven't experienced that just yet. So that will be very soon done as well. Yes, I think that's about it. And we haven't gotten that many questions or comments, so it might be super clear, everything. Yeah. Should we, keep it like that, or?
Yeah, all in all, good. Just make sure that again with the roadmap, and make sure that you're done with part 1 and part 2, and then next week we'll start with part 3. And again, like by next week, if you're not done with part 1 or part 2 or both, just let us know. And I'm sorry for there is like a phone ringing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of you might have noticed, but Joachim, one of the TAs, he was actually joining in for a very small moment when Jim was speaking earlier on. That looked quite nice, wasn't it? He was walking at the beach. Yeah,
Yes.
because Alessandro, you're in Italy,
Yes.
and Joachim is in Spain now, or
Oh, I don't really remember where exactly
I think he's
located,
in
but
Spain.
yes,
But
he's on the seaside. He's in a lovely place. Often he does the workshop hours from a terrace. So when he starts to welcome, you can see like the sunset and everything from his back. He's lucky.
yeah, he actually has a real background. Now it's not just a virtual background. When he sits, you can actually see the beach, and then you see people walking walking on the beach.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, and then we also have yet another TA that is not also in Europe, in US, or do I remember correctly?
Yes, we have Richard. I think he's in California at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
So he is some hours like behind us, and that's why he's gonna be available also at nighttime. We should at least often. That is when he actually proposes himself, and that's it. Like if you find him online when he proposes himself as available, take advantage of that. If you are somebody like me that doesn't sleep.
Yeah, I remember when the first year, then I was in Canada, and it's quite a big time difference in the West Coast, and during my days, I actually saw that there were a lot of student activity during the night, so so it's nice. Okay, but in that case, maybe we should say a nice weekend to everyone. And next week will be the weekly blog will be on Thursday next week, because we have this Midsummer Eve on Friday, and hopefully we're all not working that day. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. See you very soon again, and have a very nice weekend.
Yeah.
Have a nice weekend. See you.
Everyone.
Bye bye.